A good stage is a very important part of a bodybuilding event. Take here the Arnold Classic. What a stage! Looks like it's fit for royalty. And you know what? The Arnold Classic always has a pretty good stage. But I mean, you go back through the history of some of these events, and who designed these events? Look at the background here. Just the name and a big screen? Not much to the imagination. But you know what? At least the lighting was good. Some events have an awesome stage, things of that nature, big production, but you can't even see the athletes. And at the end of the day, being able to see these guys and the work they put into the dieting and the putting on the muscle, that's the most important thing, is it not? Well, we do like a good stage too. That is the topic of conversation today, ladies and gentlemen. Sit back, relax, have a bag of popcorn. We are going to dive into the history of the Mr. Olympia event, the biggest event in bodybuilding. And we're going to look at not the champions, but we're going to look at the stage itself. We're going to find out by the end of this one. I will give you my opinion anyway of what my personal favorite stage is. And you guys can make your own opinion on it. Of course, personal preference. This is the very first ever Olympia stage. And actually, the lighting looked pretty gosh darn good, even though it's a black and white, things of that nature. And I'm not going to go into too much the history. It was Larry Scott that, in fact, won the very first ever Mr. Olympia event. And like I said, stage, you just get some flags back there. I think that was par for the course for any bodybuilding event back then. Now, from 65 to 69, the Olympia event was held in New York City at the Brooklyn Academy of Music. And then in 1970, they moved to the Town Hall, also in New York City. And you can definitely see the background was a little bit different. It was white. I prefer the darker backdrops. Makes the guys' muscles pop more. But what have you. This was an Arnold one, his first Olympia, by the way. But like I said, we're not going to get into the history too much. On to 1971. Very rare are the photos of the 71 Olympia. It's just a dark backdrop. Could be actually a red. Hard to say. No colored pictures. But flags in the background must be a theme. So Paris, France, the first international overseas Mr. Olympia. Baby, please. And then 72, they stayed over in that part of the world, over in Europe. It was in West Germany, 1972, and the background, the stage, this was one of the first stages that we could actually see. The older Olympias, there was no real pan-back pictures of the stage at all. Another little corner shot of it there. Take it for what it is. Not bad, not bad. They did the prejudging. It looked like some sort of hallway or something. But we're only counting the finals in this one, ladies and gentlemen. Food for thought. 1973, they went back to the Brooklyn Academy of Music. I guess they couldn't afford to do an overseas trip or a bigger venue, things of that nature. Actually, Arnold won the lowest Olympia prize here ever, like $750. So they didn't put too much into the stage or into the prize money. 74 was an upgrade. 1974 was the very first ever Madison Square Garden Olympia. And I guess we'll have to watch the rest of the video to find out if it was the last. I'm sure some of you guys know. Quite a little crowd there. Arnold Schwarzenegger did not disappoint. But the stage itself, I mean, it was some white sheets, some, blankets, things of that nature. And, not too exciting. There was a little symbol there behind them. So that was the excitement, I guess. 1975, a good percentage of the bodybuilding community knows exactly where this event was and what the stage looked like. Nice red. That leads me to believe that the 71 backdrop probably was red as well. But anyway, this was in Pretoria, South Africa. The South African strongman. This was, of course, the set for Pumping Iron. You know it was from Pumping Iron. Seen some, what do they call it? Advertisements? Some sponsors? Chevrolet? I seen that all over the place on Pumping Iron. If you guys watched that film. And if you didn't, for shame. For shame. In quite a contrast, 1976, the following year, You cannot get any colored pictures, any good footage of this at all. From 1976, the Olympia. Franco Columbo won, by the way. It was in Ohio. Interesting. Ohio, the home of the Arnold Classic, the Veterans Memorial Auditorium, I believe, in Columbus, Ohio. Very interesting. Next year, 77, 78, and 79 were all at the same venue. Columbus, Ohio. Very interesting. Arnold Schwarzenegger, the promoter of these events, I believe, and it was his friends that were winning the events. Very interesting. But anyway. The auditorium had a decent stage. It was different. And it was the very first introduction to Eugene Sandow in the background. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, 77 was the first year they handed out the Sandow as a trophy to the winner. But the stages were lackluster. Not my favorite. Not my favorite at all. 1980, they went to Sydney, Australia, at the Sydney Opera House. And you cannot really find pictures of the stage. Here's the audience. I mean, if you want to see the audience. But we're talking stage. There was big alien ships above them, like big O's. I don't know what they were. But it was too wide open. There was no real border. And really, the stage consisted of bodybuilders. I mean, you turned around to hit a couple of back shots. You had Arnold Schwarzenegger and Danny Padilla staring at you. I mean, that's not too good. So 1980, not my favorite stage. One of the worst. 1981, we are back in Columbus, Ohio, and what a coincidence. Arnold's friend won the Olympia again. So very interesting, and the stage, no real good shots of the stage, but it's the exact same one from the late 70s. On to 1982. They moved to London, England, the Wembley Conference Centre, and you guys might criticize me on this. 1982, of course, Chris Dickerson won. This stage was perfect. They would go up on these steps, and you could see their silhouette as they would come down one by one to do their posing routines, and you could pretty much guess who they were on their silhouette. Then they'd walk down the steps and do their routine on the stage itself. So not a whole lot of busyness in the background. 1982, one of my favorites. I apologize. 1983, the following year, they did a similar type thing, except I believe the curtains would close on them after they did their silhouette thing. So 1983, just as good. And then in the finals, they opened up all of those curtains, and they had some sort of Egyptian background, things of that nature. What a cool background. And food for thought, it was in Munich, Germany. So they went from London to Germany, all in 2 years. The following year, 1984, we moved back to the United States, New York City to be exact. And the stage was pretty basic, but you will never hear me complain about a basic stage. Other than, I guess, the bodybuilders that weren't doing their posing or they weren't in the callouts, they were right directly behind them, much like in 1980. And that was never my favorite setup for a stage. I won't go into too much of the history, like I said. We got a lot of stages to look at, but this was the bodybuilding stage, 1984, at the Felt Forum in New York City, that both Sergio Olivas were both on the Olympia stage. That's incredible. Brings a tear to my eye every single time. The following year, 1985, looked like somewhat the same stage, but it was actually in Belgium. They went to Brussels. Muscles from Brussels. That's the home of Jean-Claude Van Damme. And it was awesome lighting. The stage, you don't have to have too much busyness, the stage. But the lighting, man, it was awesome. And this was back in 1985. The Olympia stage in 1986 was a step back to Columbus, Ohio. You can see they had the exact same setup as they did for Frank Zane in the late 70s. Not the best footage, not the best stage. 1987. Now, this was always an interesting stage to me. 87, they went to Sweden. Sweden. They went to Sweden. Gothenburg, I believe, was the venue. It almost seemed like this stage was set up for something else, and they figured, well, this looks cool, we'll do the Olympia there. There was one little Olympia flag. It looked like it was made out of cloth, but it looked like it was in front of the thing. I don't get it. But that was 1987, a little bit different. 88, also a little bit different, I have to say. Now in 88, they did actually go back to the United States, Los Angeles, California, of all places, and a purplish blue background. Never my favorite. 1989, and again, a blue background. They were actually in Italy. So there was a Mr. Olympia event in Italy. Isn't that interesting? The picture here looks like what some of them old black and white pictures would look like if they were colorized. Kind of a low budget feel. But anyway, no need to make fun of the Olympia stage in 1989. It was okay. 1990, Chicago. The Airy Crown Theater, they went, and this was the tested Olympia, and nobody's going to say anything good about this Olympia, but you know what? That pyramid made the stage awesome. 1990, a cool stage, very cool stage. But, like I said, nobody likes that year, because it was tested. 1991, the Olympia moves to Orlando, Florida. Reminiscent of the last couple of years, I guess. Not a fan of the stage. Here in 1991, little bit too busy for my likings. Takes the attention away from the bodybuilders, of course. 1992, we move back overseas to Helsinki, Finland, at the Helsinki Ice Hall. Not a fan also. There's 2 thumbs downs in a row here, 1992 and 91. The stage was just a bunch of bodybuilders. What is this? What's going on? Is it that show? Let's Make a Deal, where they're all holding a number. Let's make a deal? No? Well, maybe not. I just don't think that that's a very good idea to have all the bodybuilders being displayed all the time. They're going to get worn out. It's just not good. Not good. 1993, we move back to the United States, to the Atlanta Civic Center in Atlanta, GA. And they made that their home for the following 3 years, from 93 to 95. Was not a fan of the busyness, all the stars and everything. 94, I apologize. I'm sure a lot of you guys think that this one is the coolest. I think it is one of the worst. I just don't get it. I love the paintings, but right place, right time. Wrong place, wrong time. I don't, just don't think it's appropriate. And 95, again, no disrespect meant to the artists. These paintings were very elaborate, but just not a good background, not a good stage for bodybuilding. Food for thought, though. 95 was the last Olympia stage that had all of the Olympia champions on the same stage, same time. Pretty impressive, guys. 96, we moved from the Civic Center to Chicago, the Airy Crown Center, 1996. And I didn't mind 96. The prejudging just was the same stage. For the most part, all of these events, they had the same stage, and then they just brought the big sheets of all the pictures of all the former Olympia champions, and I thought that was pretty cool. Lighting was good, too, 96. 1997, they moved to Long Beach, California, the Terrence Theater, I believe it was. I liked the painting. It was okay. Again, not as bad as the other ones, but still, ultimately, I don't think it's the right color for a stage, for a bodybuilding stage. And it's cool, but just not for bodybuilding. 1998, I like the stage in 98. Pretty impressive. I mean, the colors, not the best. Bodybuilders kind of blend in with the background. But it was a cool stage, man. They could do a couple of poses up on the top stage and then walk down the big ramp, finish off their routine. Awesome. So 98, one of my favorites. And food for thought, it was actually in Madison Square Garden, home of the 1974 Olympia. Interesting. And contrary to what I thought, 1999 was at a different venue altogether than 1998. Looks somewhat similar, guys, but take a sharp look. I find 1998 far superior in terms of a bodybuilding stage. They didn't have the ramp in 99, but still pretty cool nonetheless. And food for thought here, guys. They moved the Olympia in 99 to Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas, Nevada. And if I'm not mistaken, the Olympia stayed in Las Vegas for what, 20 years? That's a long time. So it goes without saying, the following year, same venue, year 2000. And if I did a poll, I would be willing to bet that wouldn't win. 2000 wouldn't win. But I'm sure a lot of you guys would say 2000 is your favorite Mr. Olympia stage. And for good reason. The lighting was perfect. A little bit busy, but not too busy. I like it. 2001. 2001's always going to take heat because Ronnie Coleman was not at his best. But you know what? This stage was perfect. The lighting was perfect. They had a big black sheet behind them that when they did do some posing, you get to see some pictures of this event, pretty much perfect. And like I said, lighting, awesome too. I just think it was just a little bit too much in terms of the colors. Looks like one of those cherry flavored candy canes. You guys know the one? Rainbows are nice, but just not behind them. It's just too much color. 2002, they took a step back in terms of the color, not the quality. I actually liked 2002. And I just like 2001, not the best Ronnie Coleman, but guys, the stage was great. Not too busy in the background, not too many colors. Some pillars there if you really look, and the lighting, perfect. So 2001, 2002, pretty good. Also, 2000, all pretty good. 2003, it was the year of the big Olympia. You can see fireworks, flames and fireworks. Wow. Big doohickeys hanging from the ceiling. You guys know what a doohickey is? Me neither. So 2003, it was a little bit much, a little bit too busy for my taste, but it was such a big event. I kind of like that, the symbols, whatever it is. It reminds me of Star Trek, okay? I'm not a Trekkie, but I know what Star Trek is, and it just reminds me of Star Trek. Perfect lighting as well in 2003. Love the stage. Love how it's, keep on getting bigger every year. 2004, maybe a step back in terms of the grand stage. The grand stage of things. Not a bad stage, though. Had that great big Olympia. I kind of like that. And that was kind of the theme, I guess. The theme for the next few years. 2005 also. Except they had this great big O. What was with the O? I mean, we know it's the Olympia. There's already an O in the Olympia. So why put the O there? But still, 2005, pretty cool stage. Not bad at all. 2006, they basically did the same thing. You notice how they keep the same theme for a couple of years, certain times. Except this time the O, the big awkward O, was underneath the Olympia. So it was the Olympia, I guess. Ronnie Coleman, this was his last time on the bodybuilding, or on the Olympia stage, being Mr. Olympia. Yes, he was still Mr. Olympia here with that big beard. He didn't lose it yet. On to 2007. It was difficult to see the whole stage in 2007, unless you pan back, and they started to put in the big TV screens. Not so sure they had them in there the years prior, but the screens start to take over. See the picture of Joe Weider? This was a prejudging. They unsheathed it and revealed a big silver Joe Weider. And that's mostly what you see in the pictures when you look at the galleries, Baby Please, from 2007. Do you like the stage in 2007, Jay? Well, let me think. I do. I do like it. I like it a lot. So, Jay, he approves 2007. 2008. And like I said, guys, they kept that theme of just the big Olympia. It had lights in it. I think this might have been the first time they had lights inside of them. Maybe they had the lights on the outside before. I don't know. The Olympia itself would change colors. Perfect lighting. Again, lighting helps, stage, it all makes a big difference. So 2008, not bad at all. And now, 2009. I can hear you guys now. Mark's Max Muscle. I have been salivating, just waiting for you to say and announce 2009 was the best stage. Well, here was the stage. Is it the best? Great big white floor, big stage, background, things of that nature. And it was, they must have put stars in or something in the black background to add that extra little sizzle. Now here was the finals. Same stage, except they revealed, much unlike 2007. So 2007, 2009, kind of the same stage, basically, I would suggest. And here was the introduction of these little screens. You see that? No, it was like a glowing thing, a see-through screen, though. It was a see-through screen. And that is how they probably added those stars in earlier, or the little dots. Now, they didn't go overboard with it. Now, certain guys, they were doing their routines, and you could see full video of them doing their routines, which didn't really make sense to me. But this was kind of a precursor to the doomed future that we were to face as far as screens are concerned. But 2009, all in all, they didn't overdo it. And you can see here, they just had like stars and they were moving. I could have did without them moving. That screen is a different screen, never seen it before. We probably never will see it again. They used the solid LED screen. So 2009, Mark's Max Muscle's favorite? No. To be honest, it's not. 2010, they reverted back to all of the other years. Reminds me of, say, 2006, was it? With the O in the middle of the Olympia symbol. Not bad, not bad. And food for thought, 2010 had outstanding lighting. And that stayed the same for the next few years. Is that a different year? 2011? Aha, there's one little difference. You'll have to rewind it back to see. It doesn't say Joe Weider's Olympia on 2010. But basically, guys, 2011, 10, exact same. There was some certain scenes where they made, I guess, Kai Green's a purple color. They did different colors for different bodybuilders, but they had the lights moving around. And I could have did without that. But all in all, 2011 gets my thumbs up and a seal of approval. Little too much? It was a seal noise. 2012, however, gets a thumbs down for Mark's Max Muscle. This was, in fact, a sign of things to come in 2012. And I have to say, it was a little hard on the head when you were to watch the video, or if you watch the live streams, if you guys can remember. Some of you old fogies probably can. Some of you youngsters, you young fellers, probably don't remember. But yes, it was a big deal. And I remember thinking, they're never going to do that again. They're never going to do that again. Great big screens. 2013, they brought back the good old, what I like. I kind of like this. Just the Olympia in the background. Nothing too busy. No screens. And the whole Olympia symbol actually would move up. And they'd walk out, do their posing routines, hit the shots. And the Olympia symbol would move back down. It was pretty cool. All animatronics. Is that what it's called? Only criticism, I guess. The orange Olympia could have been a different color. Kind of blends in with the bodybuilders, but I do, in fact, like 2013. Following year, 2014, they brought the screens back. This time it was almost as if the lighting was worse. They would pose and you could see the light kind of glaring off them like a blue light. Just not good. Not good at all. Now, the finals, all they did was just bring some of these steps. Not really a spiral staircase, but like a couple of rows of steps, and that's about it. So 2014 definitely gets maybe even a 2 thumbs down, if that's a thing. The lights were at times spinning and very bright. A little bit hard on the old noggin. Following year, 2015, like a breath of fresh air. Like somebody opening up a window. The background went back to the Olympia symbol. Now, of course, there was light inside the Olympia symbol, but it stayed solid. It changed the color of it from time to time. Made it a little bit confusing when you look at 2016. Almost identical to 2015, the bodybuilding stages. So this is the type of Olympia stage that I definitely was digging for a while. They were doing the exact same stage for quite a while. 2017, basically the same, except it was a white Olympia symbol, and there were two big permanent screens of Bob Ciccarello at all times. I'm just kidding. But the screens on the bottom, they were like a couple of feet tall. They were in the previous Olympias, but they were starting to scooch them in. You know what I mean? They were getting them closer and closer and more screens. But all in all, 2017, I like that bodybuilding stage, or that Olympia stage, I should say. By 2018, you can see, guys, plain to see, the screens were moving on in, and there was nothing we can do about it. And I don't want to take from Sean Roden's moment. It was a beautiful moment, and at times the lighting was good. But by times, there seemed to be a haze in the air. I don't know if they were running the fireworks straight ahead or if they had these old smoke machines. Don't be using smoke machines. Of course, somebody could have been back there having doobies. All in all, and all jokes aside, 2018, in my opinion, was in fact a step back as far as Olympia stages are concerned. 2019, now it had its moments. Like here at the end, I mean, fireworks going off looked great. It was full of screens. 2019. It was all screens everywhere, but for the most part, they kept them at a monotone level. They kept the lights, from moving around a whole lot. So I didn't mind 2019. Kind of a forgettable Olympia stage. Not too bad. A half a thumb up. 2020. Obviously, this is going to be a lot of people's favorite Olympia stage, and for good reason. It was huge. They brought that, that Colosseum type feel about it. They had great big pillars all over the place. Looked awesome. Not only that, but there was some screens, but they weren't moving around a whole lot, and the guys looked perfect because of the lighting. The lighting was bang on, so that's a huge part of it, ladies and gentlemen. 2020, is it my favorite? Well, it's definitely going to be considered. I'll tell you my absolute favorite, maybe at the very end. Or no, I will. But 2 thumbs ups for sure. At least 1 thumb up. If we're doing 2, we're going to 2 now. 2020 gets 2. 2021, however, hold on a second. I know this looks good. 2021 at the prejudging looked great. They had, big red walls, things of that nature. It was a screen, but they kept it still, and it wasn't too bad. But the finals, yes, this is what we had to look at. You can't even see the bodybuilders. Great big screens, and that wasn't even the worst of it. They brought those spinny things back that they had from 2014, was it? Except it was way worse. The pictures do it no justice. You need to take a Tylenol before you watch the video of 2021, the Olympia. Wow, they went off on those laser lights. And the worst part is, the stage, aside from all those blasting things everywhere, wasn't too bad. I'm not so sure what those hinges are or what they mean, but looks pretty decent if you could actually see it. And food for thought, I forgot to mention, this year, 2021, and the previous year, 2020, they actually moved to Orlando, Florida. Orange County Convention Center, if I am not mistaken. I'm sure you guys even remember that they move. 2022. It seems like last year, but it's 2 years ago. Remember, the year just changed. 2022. It was in Las Vegas. They went back to Las Vegas, if I am not mistaken, and it was all screens all over the place. And they didn't do too much of the spinny lights like they were doing in 2021, but I mean, when the flames were going off, you can't really see anything. you're going to look at the flames, right? And that's generally what you don't want for a background. And the most recent Olympia, last year's 2023, was no different. All screens all over the place. And I really don't see them changing it anytime soon. They had these little lights. They weren't even going down, they were going diagonally. Very hard to concentrate. And they could just make it blank. I mean, if you want to put the screens, a picture of something, do it. Show the picture. But all this motion in the background, I really see no purpose of it. And with all screens, it really loses the personality of individual events. I mean, you remember certain events because they had a big orange Olympia or what have you. So 2023 gets maybe 2 thumbs down because they also were blasting in the smoke. The smoke makes it hard to see. Even afterwards, it leaves a haze in the air. And it's just a no-brainer, in my opinion. The smoke needs to stop. Needs to stop immediately. So, that's just my opinion on it, guys. 2023, 2022, basically the same. Maybe a little bit better because of a big Olympia symbol in the background just last year. But, again, the smoke. Too much smoke. So, after looking through the entire history of the Olympia stages, which one is my favorite? Is it 2013? I'm pretty high on 2013. If it was a different color Olympia, I think I might have it my all-time personal favorite. But you know what? I'm a little bit nostalgic in this one. My all-time favorite Olympia stage is the 1982 Mr. Olympia event. Wow, this is Tom Platz. He's just on his way down to do his posing routine, and man, his music rocked. But right before that, he showed his silhouette. You couldn't see him. You could just see the silhouette of him. Awesome stuff. Some of you guys might poke fun at me, make fun of me, because this one's my ultimate favorite stage. They could do this now. Be very memorable, too. So I hope they do not stick with the same thing over and over again. I hope, like history, history shows us, they continue to change, discover new ways of making the Olympia stage, and let's hope this year, 2024, calm down on the screens, especially right behind the guys. Hit thumbs up on the video, guys. Get it up to 500 likes, and we will do the rest of the requests in this week's poll.
Oh, come on! Subscribe to my channel, please, if you have not already. And if you would like to, check out my latest video as well. And there is a playlist if you want to really help me out. You could watch a bunch of videos as well. Have a great one, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, come on, Billy!